Hello. Hello. We are about to start in just a minute, and we look forward to it. Rochelle, say hello.
Hello, hello, everybody.
All right. Momentarily, we will return. Hello, hello, and welcome to Views and Paradox, show where we talk about movies and stuff. I am your host, John Olson, and joining me, as always, is Rochelle Racine.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome
How are
to the
you?
show.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome.
welcome, welcome. Um, so I guess we'll just start the show with a quick just check in. We're still in the time of COVID, so I don't know how are you holding up. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, how long have you been, real quick, don't even get me started on that. but, how long have you been quarantined, John?
Mid March.
Mid March? I'm going on like 70 days
Yeah,
and
two
I'm
months.
losing my mind. And I'm an introvert and like I've never needed human company within my household or around me
Yeah, so
more
bad.
ever in my life. How
Yeah.
are you?
Um,
You're
I
little.
I'm pretty good. I'm in a crowded house, right? There's eight of us,
There's
so
benefits and
yeah,
drawbacks.
it's gonna it's got its ups and downs. I have a lot of privacy if I need it, but
Oh, that's good.
it's not too bad.
That's good. As far as
And
what's
I
going,
get human contact, so I do feel really bad for like anybody's kind of stuck in your
well,
situation.
thankfully I have two dogs and a cat, so that I mean that's helpful. And like when I really need love, I like force them to cuddle with me, even though they don't want to. So that's whatever. Um,
They're sick of having you around.
they I swear to God, they're like, can you leave? Like,
Yeah,
like go away.
they're like,
My
get the
dog is
hell
like
out of here.
hanging out in my other room right now. Well, not right now, like in general, like without me forcing him in there, which is he's like usually right at my feet. So I can tell that he's like, you need to leave.
You need to give me some space.
Like, get out of here. As far as what's going on in my neck of the woods, I live in the Florida of California, which is Orange County.
Fun.
We are getting a lot of protests, particularly in Huntington, from these people that claim that we need to reopen the economy.
Mm.
What I find interesting about this is that when we went through our crash in 2008 and the recession, nobody was out there protesting
All right.
the economy, at least not the far right.
I mean, the economy, like,
People were protesting like how Wall Street dealt, but that
yeah,
no one was like, fix the economy.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just an excuse. People want to leave their houses, and like, obviously I get going stir crazy, but
But like, why are you out there without masks,
yeah.
carrying all this, like, in my opinion, like hate signs? You know what I mean?
I mean, they're just
Like,
putting themselves at
but
risk
I
at
see
this
so
point. I
many
mean, others too.
Governor Newsom posters that are depicting him as Hitler,
Oh,
and I'm like, first of all, isn't that your guys' like bread and butter on your end of the spectrum? You know what I mean? Like, don't you like Hitler?
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't understand their stance, and I'm going to be very real with you. I have no desire to do so. What's going on in Jersey? And
I mean, it's been business as usual. There's still a lot of like, when are we gonna open? Question marks, but
I mean, yeah, of course.
I'm very close to New York City, also, which has been. I mean, it's like 20,000 people have died there or something.
Yeah.
It's something crazy. And they all are getting really antsy. Like everybody's just kind of at this point where we're like, what is society? When will society return?
Well,
It's just
get on board that it's never going to be the same.
I mean, until we see that word vaccine, any attempts to reopen are going to have to be very cautious. And we're just going to have to continue to be in a state of extreme caution, I guess.
Yeah, but this is going to affect us. Like Americans have always had like a 3 feet social distancing barrier compared to, let's say, like India or
and it's
China.
still hitting us this hard. Yeah.
And it's still, so now we're at the 6 feet, right? So I'm curious to see how that's going to affect our like social bubble. And also, I mean, we're starting to see it, but like a lot of people are going to working from home will be the norm. Twitter just announced that like any employee that wants to work from home can, which then is going to create less like need for office space, So, I mean, my optimistic ass hopes that they will turn it into like low income apartments or something to help our homeless. Who knows? They'll probably just turn it into more retail stores.
Right.
Amazon will.
But what retail stores, can people go to them? Are they essential? Are grocery stores going to be like, I don't know. It's kind of crazy times.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know if you've ever been, but I'm sorry, I like Amazon. I don't think Jeff Bezos is evil. I got to go.
I kind of disagree with that. I don't think evil's the right word. I think selfish, unnecessarily selfish is kind of what I feel like. He has no reason not to be running the most luxurious like job program in the world. Something that gives like old school pensions and like lifelong benefits. He should be doing all that shit, and he's not doing any of it. So until then, I will only order Amazon when I absolutely can't find it elsewhere.
I totally understand that, and I do agree with that. Like, when you are the richest man in the world, you need to take care of your employees.
They are cash rich, that company.
And not teach them, just like Walmart, how to apply for food stamps. Like Jeff Bezos. What? But I will say that his culture within his executive branch does nurture innovation. And I do find that we might be adopting things like, as I was saying, I've been to that Amazon Go store where you just like pick your stuff and like walk out and it charges you. It's kind of fast.
Oh, is that the future of stores?
I think, especially now, I think that will be the future of stores.
That's crazy. I haven't heard of this store.
Maybe not luxury stores, but like, yeah.
You'll just have like local shopping lists that you go to, like an app.
And some things that like, they're not gonna have like Louis Vuitton bags in this.
Sure, yeah, no, but like, yeah, emergency goods.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I lost my segue. You made a Hitler remark, and that was going to be my segue into this week's film.
Hold on, real quick. I just like to wish a happy birthday to my stepmom, Stacy. I hope
happy
you have
birthday.
a wonderful day and year. Love you.
All right, happy birthday, Stacy. All right, to the film. So this week we're going over Jojo Rabbit by Taika Waititi, who also wrote the screenplay based on the novel by Christine. Luenez. I don't know.
Sorry.
I'm not even sure. I'm sorry. I butchered the author's name. So, Hey,
Are you
yeah, I'm like,
starting soon?
so
Say hi.
hi. Did you turn it?
No, I can't get onto the video. It's
Oh,
in
there's a problem with the
restricted
video.
mode.
Oh no.
I'm getting word of technical difficulty.
Okay.
So here's what this says: streaming.
Excuse me.
All right,
Yep.
hold for a moment. It says we're streaming.
No, I have it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in.
There's a lot comes up.
yeah, here. She's attempting to use the link. I could try posting it again, or I could send it. Yeah, you said you're getting a feed
Yeah, just fine.
Maybe it's just
from
acting
the Facebook.
From YouTube.
Copy. Yeah, but did you follow the link from Facebook?
Well, I followed the link that you sent me on YouTube or on Facebook.
Okay, but you followed it from Facebook. Okay. I don't know. It says working. Can I? I'll try posting
I
it
have
again.
3 watching now.
Okay.
We have 3 watching. Okay.
4 watching now.
All right. Sorry, folks. I'm gonna try posting it one more time in the group.
Welcome to technology, everyone,
Welcome to technology.
and YouTube. Get it together.
All right.
Really bossy today.
Movie club click. Here we go. So, do you want to carry on with some of the film and like what
Yeah.
it won
you
and
do.
stuff? Yeah.
Okay, so I think her last name, Christine's last name, is pronounced Lunens. We'll go with that. Apologies for any
Lunens.
mispronunciation. Did you say the director, John? Yes,
Yeah,
right?
Taika Waititi.
Okay. So, logline: a young boy in Hitler's army grapples between humanity and doctrine.
All right. So this week, what we're gonna do is, because this movie's kind of recent and you can't find it for free like some of our other films, we're gonna put a little bit more attention to spoilers. Basically, up front, we're gonna have like mild spoilers, and then at a certain point, we'll get to sort of the third act, what I would call the third act of the film, and we'll say that if you haven't seen the film, go watch it and then come back. But first, we're going to talk about it. We are going to get into some plot details from like the first 2/3 or so of the film, just so that we can talk about what the film is about. And then at a certain point, I just feel like the film starts to make some very strong decisions, and we'll talk about those kind of in their own separate spoiler warning category. All right, so yeah, getting right into it.
Okay, so let's discuss the awards. It was nominated for a slew of awards. Didn't win as much as Parasite. So, Academy Awards, it was nominated for
Lots.
Best Adapted Screenplay, which it won. Best Motion Picture, Best Performance by an Actress in Supporting Role for Scarlett Johansson. 4 women got gypped this year. Best Achievement in Costume Design, Production Design, and Film Editing. Golden Globes, Best Motion Picture nominee, Best Performance by an Actor, Roman Griffin Davis. BAFTA won Best Screenplay. Then, again, Scarlett Johansson.
And
Best
Roman
Actress.
Griffin's the kid, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best Editing, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, and Original Music, all nominations.
All right. So the setup of the film has us following Johannes, aka Jojo Belzer, and as soon as we see him, he's being enrolled into a Nazi youth program, and it's revealed to us very quickly that it's near the end of World War II. It seems very clear that Germany is about to lose the war.
Hence the recruitment of young kids.
Right.
I think we learn later. There's just a small snippet where you start seeing terrible things being done to these kids. Well, one in particular where they're literally like sacrificing their lives, almost like jihad status.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
crazy. I think that this is like a Boy Scout style recruitment program meant to be long term, but because of the time frame that they're getting into it, it seems much more like let's just chuck them to the front. Um,
Yeah.
just because everything is like coming at them at this point, like they've essentially lost by the time the film starts, which is an interesting kind of place to put it. I guess a very dramatic place. Um, so we're introduced to Sam Rockwell's character, who's great. And he's initially like, talks about his eye. He can't, he can only see out of one eye, and he's disgruntled from kind of being rejected into having to teach these kids.
And he has to teach these kids because the eye was a war wound, correct?
Yes, as far as we can surmise.
Yeah. So like they deemed him useless, so to speak, and so they moved him into this new circumstance.
Yes.
But he quickly shows us that it has not hindered him.
Yeah. Yeah, he quickly shows us, which is a great scene. Then pretty quickly, our first kind of mild spoiler is like the first major plot point of the film. There's like a couple of, this film is like a succession of like interesting reveals, or like twists, that heavily affect the plot. So we have the scene with the rabbit. He gets asked to like kill a rabbit. And he,
Like,
yeah.
Can I just interject really quick?
Yeah.
He gets asked specifically because the other men that are helping train the children notice that this kid, I should say, has
Yeah, Jojo's 10.
morals. And they notice, and so they single him out.
Also, they know about his father. They talk about his father, and they say he's a deserter. This is the first we kind of hear of that.
It's both of them, I think. You know what I mean? And so they ask him to kill this rabbit. Take it away.
Yeah, so they ask him to kill a rabbit, and he attempts to like set it free. And they get the rabbit, and they get him, and they start calling him Jojo Rabbit because he's scared like a rabbit. And they chase him off. And we get kind of like, we've seen him already by this point, but we get like an actual scene with his imaginary friend Hitler. So Hitler's played by Taika Waititi, who also wrote and directed the movie. And I remember seeing in an interview that like, they're like, why'd you play Hitler? And they were like, they're having a really hard time finding a way to make it work with just like kind of with anybody, right?
Casting?
Yeah, for casting. And they're like, well, why don't you just do it, since it's your project anyway, and like you are very different from Hitler.
Quick question.
Yeah.
If you were an actor, would you accept a role as Hitler or Stalin or Mussolini?
I would not get cast for Hitler
Let's say.
or Stalin.
Let's say you would.
Or Mussolini. I don't think I'm in the work. I would like, this is the perfect example of it depends on the project, right?
Yeah.
So this is something where like normally, yeah, don't play Hitler, but the way he uses the character in this film is very, I would say, intelligent. And also cause for a bit of controversy. I know, which is, in our clickbaity title.
There's a purpose for that.
So, yeah, let's kind of talk about it now, I guess. The advertising for this film was a lot. Kid with Hitler for imaginary friend. It was a lot of that. And I think people didn't know what to make of this film because they're just like, what is this movie about a little Nazi kid,
Yeah, with Hitler as the imaginary friend.
With Hitler for a friend.
The satire was much more subtle than I expected. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was far more subtle. This is like a war movie again.
There's a couple of really out there scenes that we'll cover when we come to them, I think. But yeah, I agree. Like very grounded overall.
Yeah, very grounded. And I'm sorry, world. it takes a certain type of taste and intelligence to get into a film like this, and that's what makes it controversial, which is fine. Like, to each their own, you know. I don't expect everyone to understand something like this. It's a lot.
Yeah, I don't think this movie's controversial. I think this movie's a lot of things.
I don't think
But controversial's, yeah, not one of
I
them.
see why. The reason we're bringing this up as well is because if you follow us on Instagram at Views and Paradox, you know that we use fan art posters in order to
Mm.
announce the newest film of the week. And I got two messages that were not appreciative of
Mm.
what we had posted. And it had nothing to do with like using someone else's art. It was that what I had posted was inappropriate, offensive, etc. And that I shouldn't be touting
I
such
know,
things.
right? Like, if you're offended by this movie, you're probably an offensive person, I think. Because this movie uh, kind of does, I don't know, it does nothing but defend goodness and right in the world.
I mean, one thing that personally that just made me go, "You haven't watched this film. You have
Yeah,
never
like, for one, watch the movie. I don't think any of did any of the posters that I picked have swastikas on them? Because, like, I tried to avoid
one of
that.
them had Hitler like fronted.
Yeah, he's got the mustache, but it's her coming out of the wall, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
the um in the
yeah.
design.
Not a single one
But
of them.
yeah, that's unfortunate. Um,
I'm wondering what hashtags did I use. I guess that's irrelevant.
it's
But
sort of,
yeah, it was very odd, and it
somebody
honestly
saw it and was just like, thought it was, I don't know, propaganda or something. This
maybe.
movie is satire. It's very clear about that. Um, but it's also a movie that's just kind of smartly about the way that kids are indoctrinated. Uh, and just like how narrow JoJo's worldview is. It's extremely narrow. It is this camp and one other thing, which we'll get to, I guess, right now. So, after he doesn't kill the rabbit, he uh, gets like riled up with his pal Hitler, and he steals a grenade and he just like chucks it in the woods. I don't know what he was trying to do. I thought he was gonna free the rabbit or something. You see him charging in, and
The rabbit was dead by this point. I think it's worth saying that yeah, he gets riled up, and then he just like I don't even know what the word is. Like blitzes the
he just goes
training
crazy.
exercise and steals the grenade right out of the dude's hand, and then
He's
goes
like
on.
giving them a safety instruction on grenade use, and he just steals it out of his hand, chucks it. It hits a tree and comes back, and then he like gets hit by a grenade. I was very shocked
Me too.
when this happened. Like, the movie goes from this like very campy youth training camp that's like, you know, a Boy Scout movie or something, and then he just gets hit by a grenade, and it goes through like the different things. I love when he's like in the gurney and Hitler's there, and he puts
Yeah.
up his hand. He puts up his hand, and it's all bloody, and then Hitler's like, oh. Like, he actually gets like, he's horrified by it.
Yep.
So we get this, and we get a nice, yeah.
I believe that increases his like anger as well. Like and as well as somehow I don't really know how to explain this, but like also his loyalty to the Nazi party.
His loyalty, I don't think, is questioned at this point.
No, I mean, don't you think it like he dug a little deeper because of that?
Um,
I
what do
mean,
you
he
mean?
was like, I mean, he didn't like the way he looked, and it totally made him angry. You know, like he was scarred.
Yeah,
But
it just adds to.
it's almost like a war wound. You know, like when Americans or I mean anybody.
Well,
They,
I think that I think it's part of why, um, it's part of why Sam Rockwell's character likes him.
yeah,
Because he's like got that, and I love the comment where he's like, "Oh, his mother's gonna kill me," like, um, and then we meet Mom, and this is the other part of his worldview. There's like the Nazi propaganda that he gets from the government, from the school,
school and
um,
everywhere he turns.
just like, yeah, everywhere he goes, and then there's like Mom. played by Scarlett Johansson. I figured since we're getting to her, we can kind of just talk about some of her different scenes together. Because I think Scarlett Johansson she's out of this world in this movie.
Yes, yes. Last year was a good year for her in film.
Yeah, because she also had Marriage Story, right?
Yeah.
God, she got robbed.
Both up for Academy Awards.
Yeah, neither one, right?
Neither one.
Did she split her own vote? Maybe she split the vote.
Maybe. I don't know. She got gypped, personally.
Yeah, they usually throw them into different categories. But yeah, this one is amazing. She's such an interesting and vibrant character from the moment we meet her, also. Like her first interaction with Sam and all that. Yeah?
Yeah, I think that goes with her. I mean, okay, a good actor will research and find like a prototype character to base their character off of. So one thing I found interesting was that she really got into the vaudevillian cabaret scene of Germany. So think like Liza Minnelli and Cabaret.
Sure.
And she based her characters off of that culture. And I think it was the perfect choice.
She's definitely got some vaudevillian. You can see it. I think that you can see it. I think that like that is a lot of just like actor backstory because we don't get a whole heck of a lot of solid information about her. Like at the end of the day, we don't know what she does for a living. She does go out a lot. Like they even asked Jojo. They're like, he's like, "Where's your mother?" She's out, and she's like, "She out a lot." Yeah. What'd she do? He has no idea. Like, so she does go out and interact, presumably a lot.
Honest though, I assume she had something to do with the resistance. She was doing
something.
Well,
that much is clear, but we don't know what, like, she does in the meantime. Like,
well,
what
that's
is?
What I mean. I think that might be her meantime gig. And also to me, I don't know anything about German socioeconomic class back in this time, but to me, they come across pretty well off.
I mean, they got a big ass house.
Yeah.
Like, they got nice. Yeah, they got some nice things. It is just two of them. Sister has died. Husband has been away for 3 years, 2 years, something like that. 2 or 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
So yeah, it's been, just him and his mom in this big old house for a while now, it seems like. And so he does spend a lot of time in school and stuff, but now that he's wounded, he's like scarred from his grenade. He's got like some physical therapy going on with his leg. But the mom, like, there's a scene early on where they are crossing a courtyard. You had mentioned this to me.
The town square. So they're crossing the town square, and there are 6 people, I believe, Jewish people. I mean, what else?
They're victims of the SS, whoever they are. So they're either traitors or they're Jewish.
Yeah, either way. And they are hanged in the middle of the town square. And Jojo is very clearly disturbed by this.
Yeah, no kidding.
And he turns away, and Scarlett Johansson grabs his head.
Yeah, Mom's like...
And I thought that was very powerful.
Yeah, it's a good moment early on with her where we can see that she's human. Yeah. Because when we see her, she's like, she's all with the Hiles. And, she like demands that Sam Rockwell's captain do something with her son, despite that he's been grenaded because it happened on his watch. So he takes him in to like give him chores, like passing out flyers and stuff. So finally we get the last major plot line in this movie. So there's like the youth camp and what he's doing with the captain. There's his relationship with his mom. And then there's the girl in the attic. Yeah. So mild spoilers again. These aren't the big ones yet, but this is mild spoilers, but I feel like it was in the trailers and all that. there's a girl living in the house. He notices because he's now at home and he has like all this extra time. He discovers that there's like a secret door in one of the closets, and he discovers a girl in the house. What were your thoughts on their relationship and like kind of how it progressed?
I found it very interesting that I mean, war, genocide, I get it, but her approach to just how intense she was with him, and how she kind of like owned this, like, yeah, I'm the evil ghost or whatever that lives in your side room, instead of at first trying to, I guess, speak some sense into him, but when
She goes right down to his level right away.
Yeah, right down to his level. But when you go through trauma, like, obviously, this is the route you're gonna go,
Right.
So I understood it, but I just was
and
like,
he is a little kid, right? And like,
I guess that's what I mean. Like, if he had been an adult, I would have been like, yeah, get down to.
Very different scenario, but like if you were stuck in a house and it was just like a 10-year-old boy, it's like, well, shit, I can overpower him. He's
Right.
a tiny little thing.
She knew he was there.
She knew he was there.
And he was
But like he did have a knife, and I do think she needed to confront it right away.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that like you can't not face it immediately. So like as soon as you find her, it's very confrontational. I liked how kind of bitter they were, and like he has this like war with her where he essentially loses the logical war. And she says it right in the beginning. She's like, we're in a standoff, and like if you yeah, well, he says that later. He says he says something. He says it wrong. He says it's a Mexican. They don't say standoff. Actually, they say standalone. It was like Mexican standalone, something stupid like that. But yeah, she throws it out there like right up front. But it takes him like several tries and her getting all the knives to like bring him around to the logic of her. And so then he like. Also, the relationship proceeds in this way where he's got this project he's doing, just a personal project, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like
It's a personal project to help the Fuhrer.
Yeah, so it's like, but it's not like commissioned to him by this program or anything. He does mention it to the captain at one point. So he's got this like book, and he's asking her for help on spying on the Jewish people. He's like, I'm gonna get something out of having you here, so you're gonna tell me about the Jewish people. And she tells him just like all these like confirming biases of just absurd nonsense that they have got horns and
My
like
favorite one was that they come from the center of the earth.
they come from the center of the earth. Like she tells him all the most ridiculous stuff. I thought it was gonna go a very different way, but she just kind of like, I don't think she even believes how sincere he is at first, that he is like so brainwashed, like, because he just like has no idea what a Jewish person is, like zero concept. It's literally just something that's a demon to him, and we kind of get that referenced again later in the spoiler section. So let's see. Was there anything else that we wanted to mention before actually we get into the full spoilers?
Real quick, Elsa was played by Thomasin McKenzie, and this just kind of came to me. But you said that they were both bitter, and I think that's the first foreshadow of them realizing that not realizing, but us realizing that they have more in common. And that the relationship is going to grow. I mean, which is obvious.
Yeah, we kind of know from the get-go that they're going to develop a relationship, right? Like, it doesn't... Like, that's not the part of the movie that's sneaky to me. But, yeah, I agree with that. So, I was going to text something on, but I flew out of my head. So, okay, from this point on... I remember. Elsa. She was good in The King. I watched that on Netflix not too long ago. The King. She's got just like a couple of scenes at the end of the movie, but she's good in it. Like, so that's the one other thing I kind of know her from.
She
Uh,
was great in this. The casting and the acting was wonderful in this film.
yeah, cast is great. Scarlett Johansson. Oh, I guess before we actually get into the spoiler section, I can talk about my favorite scene was actually one with Scarlett Johansson. Um, like this was the one that kind of references that vaudeville you're talking about. So he has like a scene where he's kind of throwing a tantrum. He knows about the girl. His mom. He's trying to get his mom to tell him. He's been trying to like get her to confess, and he's getting really mad at her that she's lying to him. Um, and he starts bitching about his dad. He wants like, I wish my dad was here. And she does this whole scene as his dad. She smears like ash on her face to give herself the look of a man, and it's just really powerful. Like I was like shocked at first because she goes at him like kind of hard as the father. She goes at him really hard, and I was like, oh. And then it's such a nice scene the way that it kind of like she goes and kind of apologizes in character as the dad, like, and then they do like some dancing, and then they like bring in Jojo. And it's just such a nice scene, but it's like, I just liked both performance and just the rhythm of that scene, like kind of what it does, and it tells us a lot about her character and his parents. It's the most we get of the father in the whole movie,
I
really.
think at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of where we learn that the father is not, in fact, a Nazi soldier.
Um,
No?
no, this is not it yet. But we have this in mind. Like we hear deserter, um, and then she has like an excuse that she gives him that he's working on a special assignment or something. But it's you can tell it's flimsy. Um,
Well, I guess that's where I was like, okay, he's in the resistance somewhere. you know?
yeah, I think we get the confirmation in the scene with the mom and Elsa. They have
Oh,
like
that's
they have like a scene together, and
right,
she's like telling her to encouraging her to dream about her future.
right.
But we
So that was
also
right
learn
after. I call this little episode of her acting as the father, this table is Switzerland, because she sets boundaries
this
at this point.
table is Switzerland.
We are not discussing politics at this table. This is like family time. And then right after that, she goes up to the girl. Not right after, but like that evening, she goes up to the girl's little cubby and says, he heard you. You got to be quiet. And this is then right. And then she lectures her on you got to dream. And this
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. She tells her
the
all this
right
stuff.
place. Yeah. And so that's when we get confirmation. So shortly thereafter.
Yeah. So it all works in the timing of the film. Okay, now for real this time, full spoilers. Because this is where the movie takes a turn. Um, even though this scene is very satirical, I saw it kind of as it's like one of the most, you know, I don't know. The satire is just trying to take the edge off of the terror
Right.
because it's a terrifying twist that happens. We get the SS drop by, just like he's talking with Elsa about something, and there's a knock at the door, and they're like, "Go hide." And Stephen Merchant, who I think this is like some of the best casting in the film, is like the head of an SS gang. They're all wearing black coats and hats, um, and they show up to like just tear the place out. They have this joke where they all say Heil Hitler every time that they enter the room, and they just say it over and over for every person.
Oh, okay, yeah, that part's a joke, but I don't think that the hello is Hail Mary was a joke. That was the reality of this time. And I could also, I mean, it was a joke as far as how many times they would
How
say
many
it.
times they say it, yeah.
Yeah, but I also think that would have been a reality.
But it
You
is
have
the thing. Every time you go into a room, you're saying
yeah,
it.
yeah. And I mean, I'm not no Nazi, but I would assume that that's something that you need to greet every single person as opposed to
I
like,
don't know. I think that's where it's a stretch. I think it's like for groups, you just kind
okay,
of hire each other.
yeah, okay. I'm
uh,
not in the
I
job.
also I don't live in 1930s 40s Germany either. Um, but they start just kind of tearing the place up, and then who should show up but Sam Rockwell? And he comes flying in, and I feel like at this point in the film, if you don't love him, you should, you know?
Yep.
Like you know he's there kind of in the defense of the kids, and because you know how terrible the SS are, right? And it's sort of his job to look after this kid. They go into his room and they love, and like this is also a part of the film that's like, you know, very revealing, I feel like, of everybody. And like they go into Jojo's room and it's all Nazi propaganda and they love it. And then it's all going very well up to a point. Then they notice that his knife is missing and they're like, where's your knife? And because it's been a thing throughout the film, he like, yeah, obviously it was taken by Elsa.
The knife was issued during the Nazi.
Yeah, so he got it. He got the knife when he came on with Sam Rockwell after the grenade launch. They were like gonna give him a gun, and she's like, "No, get that away from my kid." And so they give him the knife. So, but he loses the knife to Elsa, and before he can answer, she walks in. And she's like, "It's me." So she reveals herself to the SS, but she says that she's his dead sister. And then she pulls out the passport and like hands it to Sam Rockwell, and he's looking at the picture and it doesn't look a whole lot like her. But he's kind of playing along, and then he asks for the birth date. And I don't know about you, but I sure as hell didn't look at the birth date before he asked, right? I was like, oh my god, of course he would ask that. You shouldn't even think to look at it, but it was like, neither did I. So she answers, and he hesitates for like a heartbeat before he's like, yeah, it's good. Like holding us in suspense. But at that point, the SS spots the book that he's been working on, right? And this is like the final part of the book. They open the book and they're like, what is this? And she claims that it's for her. And so at this point, even if Sam Rockwell did buy the passport bit, I was like, well, obviously he knows that they're lying, right? So, like, obviously Sam Rockwell immediately would know that they're lying because he's heard Jojo talk about the book. And because he's been interviewing people about Jews to, like, find out all the nonsense. And yeah, at this point they start reading it and they just, like, are cracking up because it's, like, all of they're like demons. Oh, they live underground. And I love Stephen Merchant. He's like, he's cracking up as he reads this book. And he's like, oh, it's funny because it's all true. Like, they're obviously part of the propaganda ministry. And so they're just like they're eating up the fact that it's all working on the children. Yep. It's so evil. It's so diabolical. So then they leave seemingly without incident, right? We seem to have gotten away with it. Sam Rockwell's character, the captain, doesn't turn us in. The SS just leave. And the scenes aren't that scary. They are kind of satirical. They are a little bit over the top, right?
Right.
But at the same time, like, you know, because of the history, like how terrifying this actually is, you know. So I think that the comedy is just kind of like padding out the terror that comes with these kinds of films. So the next big thing that happens, what happens, Rochelle?
The mother?
Yeah. Hello?
No. The exact same place that we see in the beginning with the 6 other people.
Yeah. Do you remember what he's doing when he sees them? He's like doing a task for the army, right? I think he's got his wagon.
Yeah, I think he's got his wagon. Yeah. So he's like, they're in the midst of war within the village at this point, correct? No, he's putting the propaganda on doors.
He's putting propaganda up, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. He's putting the propaganda on.
And this is just like right after the the raid on the SS. It shows him like he's back to work, a little shaken, but otherwise seems fine. And then he spots his mom. He spots the shoes. They just show us the shoes. He focused a lot on the shoes early in the film on the on the hanging bodies, and then there is a very foreshadowing shot of the mom's shoes during the when she plays the dad scene. She at one point he sees the shoes at eye level. It focuses on them. So I guess I should have known that she was gonna die based on that foreshadowing, but I just it was shocking to me. And then he attempts to sort of tie her shoelaces, and it was rough.
Yeah. Oh, I guess a running joke is that he doesn't know how to tie his shoes.
Well, I wouldn't call it a running joke. I would call it a motif, because that's the thing that made me cry in the movie is he's trying to tie his shoes, and I think it's a symbol for, just for growing up, It's he can't even tie his shoes. That's how young he is. And by the end of the movie, of course, he can tie his shoes. So,
My mother was always tying his shoes in case anybody.
Yeah, his mother ties them for him. And when he sees the body, he tries to tie her shoes and he can't tie them. And that's, I felt like that's heartbreaking. Then the city gets attacked and it's bombs away. There's some of the more ridiculous scenes are in this portion of the movie. They have the ones where the kids accidentally drop the rocket launcher. And Rebel Wilson's charge.
She has an interesting position throughout this film. We see her in every major act as far as when.
Yeah, she's always with the captain in the background somewhere.
Right, but I thought it was interesting that they had her doing the physical therapy on JoJo.
Yeah, she's the physical therapist. She does a lot.
As all women do.
Yeah. And when he starts asking about the Jewish people, she gets real interested real quick. She's clearly you're man, this little kid does not even know that just everybody's listening. What? What was that? Kids are they give everything away, ruin everything. Yeah. But yeah, then she goes out in a blaze of glory. This is where he runs into his friend. He's got this one friend who we haven't talked about this whole time.
Apologies, he's our favorite character.
What is this kid's name?
Name is.
Is this Finkel?
And he is played by Archie Yates.
Oh, Yorkie. Yeah, Yorkie is his best friend who's not Hitler. And he's just adorable.
He is so adorable. He's so endearing. I love him.
He's the best. And we run into him in the army. He's got this outfit that's made of, it's paper-like. He's is it paper? He's it's paper-like. It was strange to me at first too. And then later it's just falling off in tatters, the paper. Yeah, we see Deborah Wilson chucks him into battle, and then she goes charging into battle. And she puts a coat on Jojo. She's here, put this on so I don't kill you. And then she goes charging off. Then we see Sam Rockwell charging into battle. He's on this ridiculous outfit.
One thing I found interesting when she puts the coat on Jojo is just before that, she strapped a grenade to a child and said, "Go hug."
Oh, that's right. She does that before she spots Yorkie, right?
Yeah.
Go hug that American. Yeah.
I was okay.
It's some sketch comedy level stuff in this rather otherwise very kind of scary predicament. So basically Jojo just tries to hide from the battle, and he sees a lot of carnage, and it's awful. His eyes, he's seen the horrors of war now. And when the dust settles, he gets rounded up by Americans because he's still wearing the jacket, and he comes to Sam Rockwell. We have this last scene with Sam Rockwell. where he tells him that he liked his book. It's super sweet. Even though that book is like straight evil.
And absurd.
Yeah, and absurd. There's a great little joke in the book that isn't super important, but it's that like Elsa has this boyfriend she talks about, and Jojo just writes all these different ways of killing that boyfriend. Like her boyfriend is Nathan, right? And it's like ways to kill Nathan, and there's just like page after page after page of Nathan's death. I thought that was very funny.
It was. I agree.
Uh,
I mean, he does that because he develops a crush on Elsa.
Yeah, like over time, like, and everybody's telling him that he'll fall in love someday, and he's 10. He doesn't know what any of that means.
Yeah.
But Sam Rockwell, like, kind of gives him this like farewell speech, rips his jacket off, and accuses him of being Jewish, so that the Americans will just like ignore him.
Yeah.
So like, and he gets dragged off, and we never see him again. Probably nothing good happens to him. We can surmise. But he goes out valiantly saving Jojo. You know, he cares for the little scarred kid that, is so innocent despite being surrounded by all this nonsense. Here we then get Jojo confronting Hitler, right?
Oh yes. This was this was my favorite scene. I've decided. I've been having trouble figuring out my favorite scene. Okay, John, all my crying is now coming out.
Okay. You're like thinking about it.
Yeah. So this part is where Hitler is like, "What the heck, bro? Like, why?" Oh, I lost your audio.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
I was watching the
About Hitler. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Hitler's like what? Like how? You're being disloyal. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, we missed a huge
Yeah, you're gonna trade it. So Hitler's slowly gone from like his friendly, happy companion to judging him more and more for not acting out against the Jewish girl in his house. And we see less and less Hitler as the movie goes on.
At this scene, Hitler had already shot himself.
Right. So that was, yes. Not long before that, I think it's Yorkie who tells him that Hitler shot him. That he blew his brains out.
He ate his gun or something.
Yeah, he says he shot himself. That the Germans were coming, or everyone else was coming.
We've lost. We're fucked.
Yeah, it's not. He's like, it's not a great time to be a Nazi.
Yeah. Oh, I loved him.
He's just too much.
So he's
stand out.
Confronting him. No.
Yeah, so Hitler kind of confronts him. He's on his way to see Elsa for the last time, and Hitler is like, accusing. He's going all Hitler on him with the screaming and whatnot. And then he has his righteous moment of standing up to now dead Hitler.
Pushes him out a window.
Yeah, he kicks him violently out a window.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Hitler. Right? It's a fun little moment. I wonder if it would have been more powerful if he'd done it before he heard about Hitler dying.
I think so. I literally thought the same thing.
Yeah, like maybe just reverse those things.
Yeah.
It gives him a little bit more agency in the scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because at this point, Hitler's gone, So, like, I mean, I realize he's an imaginary friend of his. But at this point...
There is this realization, though, that, like, holy shit, Hitler is killable.
Right.
Hitler is fallible, right? I think that kind of shows that, like, that's the ultimate, I guess he was full of shit the whole time.
Yeah.
It's such a awakening moment. It's such a strange thing about Hitler that, like, after all of the propaganda nonsense, he just kind of took the easy way out, so to speak. So then we get one last scene with Elsa, and this was like crazy weird to me, because he gets there and he tells her, she's like in the closet, and she's like, "What happened? Can I go out? Is it safe?" And he tells her, "No. Well, Germans won." It's such a dick move. I do think it's in keeping with his character though. Like he
Yeah.
always kind of does the dick move first and then realizes that it's a dick move and like tries to make up for it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of
But
his
it's what he's taught, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, compounded with the fact that he's, I mean, for a 10-year-old in love with Elsa at this
Yeah.
point. And, he
And
doesn't
also
know-
it's
and he's lost his mother and he has no one, you know,
it
like,
has to do with the theatrical aspect that he got from his mother too, I feel like. Because he keeps up the facade because he turns into a facade. He's always playing make believe, right? So like he turns into a facade, and he's like, I'll help you escape from the city," and then he reveals to her that it's already free, right? At which point she slaps him in the face as she should. Uh, yeah, I loved that ending. It was very interesting. I do think it was very keeping with kind of Jojo's character, which is a very strange character. But he's clearly learned his lesson, and he just wants Elsa to stick around. Rather than answer his question, though, she just starts dancing. And we end the movie with dancing to I love the German David Bowie. It was a nice touch. So it doesn't answer our question if she'll stay or what the deal is. We don't even know if Jojo can hold on to that house, though, realistically. Right? Like, they should just go to Paris.
I mean, God, I don't know anything about legalities and like real estate back then, or in Germany, period. But I would assume that it does stay within his name.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's his if it's owned. Still, being in Berlin, we don't know if they're in East or West Berlin. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it could be a bad time coming up.
Yeah, it could be a bad time. That didn't. Well, okay. I was gonna say East Berlin. I guess my only sense of place is like prior to the wall falling and after World War II. So I could.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. If his place is on the east side of town,
Yeah.
they better then Paris is the better option.
Right. Okay.
We did see American flags though, so maybe it's the west side of town.
Yeah.
As opposed to Russian flags on the Russian side. Who knows? Yeah, I liked this movie a lot. I thought it was pretty great. Do we want to do the IMDb Rotten Tomato thing?
Oh yes, really quick. Hoseby is going off in the comments. Thank you for commenting. We're so happy. So
I'm not happy. Anyone else?
yeah. Okay. So
Put a stop to Jose.
Okay. Jose first says they were not in Berlin.
They
and
were
then
not in Berlin.
One thing that he
Gets me for
touched on-
not paying attention.
Yeah, same. The mother actually doesn't do anything because she is plotting against the government. It's a full-time job.
But what's
so-
her cover? Like, we don't have any sense of like what does she do? Is she just wealthy?
I think she's just wealthy. I mean, look at that house. I mean, the way she dresses and like the furniture in that house. You know, like that just doesn't. That's not a normal way of living at this point.
Yeah.
And then in the table is Switzerland scene, Scarlett says at the end, as the father, your mother is doing what she can, and that hints that she's going to die because that is what she says about the people hanging in the plaza.
Oh, yeah. Well, because they say what did they do? What they could. That's true. It's also good foreshadowing. Yeah, should have seen it coming. I didn't see it. It surprised me. I feel like I don't like to be the person that gets ahead of the movie. I'd rather be the person that goes back and appreciates it.
I saw it as soon as everything caught up to them when the Gestapo's in their house, you know, and they discover the woman, the Jewish girl, Elsa. I saw it there. I was like, okay, they're fucked. I thought it was going to happen in that moment, but then, you know, he was taken pity on. I saw it coming. I didn't want to.
but you did. Yeah. Saw it coming. I liked it. Good stuff. So, Rotten Tomatoes?
Rotten Tomatoes and versus IMDb. So this is a new little segment we're going to start doing.
We're just going to look at what it got rated kind of in general. And we're going to see if we agree or disagree with it.
Where did it go? Okay. So 7.9 on IMDb, which is
Is that out of 10?
audience rating review.
It's the average?
Yeah, that's the average. So 7.9.
Okay.
And then as far as Rotten Tomatoes, it got an average of 79% via the critics and 94% via
94 audience shocks me.
Me too.
People like some comedy sprinkled in with their heavy topics, I guess.
Yeah.
79 is not bad. 80. I thought this movie was pretty solid. I don't really know where the negative reviews are coming from, but
People who don't understand satirical.
yeah, I think my rating would be probably a little higher than the IMDb.
I think so too. Also, I'm wondering if it has something to do with like the simple, like a lot of people still put World War II veterans on a pedestal, rightfully so. And I'm wondering if they just found it disrespectful, and that's why.
I don't know. I feel like it's a pro-America movie at the end of the day. And if you are pro-America, you should be anti-Nazi. And if you're offended because you saw something that felt like it was Nazi propaganda, in that case, I apologize. But it was not Nazi propaganda.
Like, that was not our intention, and just know that that's not our political views or stance, and never will be, and never was.
Yeah. So, all right. What about next week? What's going on?
Next week, okay, we agreed on. Oh my God, why can't I think of the name? Knives Out.
Knives Out.
We're going through like a last year's Academy Award.
I guess so. Yeah, we're getting around to movies that Rochelle wants to see.
Pretty much.
Which lined up great with Jojo Rabbit for me because that was one I had wanted to see and never got around to. I own it now, so I'll be probably watching it again fairly soon. Actually, yeah, I love that movie. Knives Out. We'll probably do. I mean, I don't know. I guess that one's a lot of spoilers because it's a whole whodunit. But we'll find a way to do it. And the big shout out to Jose Alberto Venutlo Chirinos. Did I get that right? In the comments there for leaving us comments. We do appreciate that. It's handy and helpful.
We love when you guys add to the discussion. It makes us think beyond. Well, for me, I'm pretty judgmental, so it makes me think beyond that. Like, I'm judgmental, but you can challenge me. And then whereas John, I think it just creates more points of discussion because he's very detail oriented when it comes to filmmaking, and
I like film. Yeah, that's good. There's always a lot to talk about on any film.
Yeah.
So
it's our industry, so like, but John's been in it for 10 years, whereas I'm like brand new, and so it's nice to have people add to the discussion to make both of us think outside of our typical box, or like bring up things that we missed. So please continue to do so, Hoseby and everybody, all of our audience. We would love that. And even if it's post stream, please still add to the discussion because this is like an ongoing.
If you watch it later, let us know what you thought of the film. Let us know if there was anything, I don't know, egregious that we missed. And yeah, share it around. I hope everybody's kind of getting through these times as best they can. I think that's everything. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that jazz. Follow me on Twitter and in Instagram, more Instagram, at John in Paradox. It's Jon in Paradox. And Rochelle, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Rochelle Racine, linked below because people have issues spelling my name. And then also on Twitter at Rochelle, also linked below. And then as far as our podcast, please follow us on Twitter, Views in Paradox, and Instagram at Views in Paradox. And please don't forget to join our group on Facebook, Movie Club Collective, because this is where a lot of the pre-discussion goes down for that week's episode.
Yeah, I might put up a poll soon, seeing what the people want us to kind of discuss. For more on that, go to the Facebook group.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right, with that, watch more movies. Until next time.
Happy viewing. Ciao, ciao.